I noticed that I was not strong at all. The level is high. There are many people who are doing it. They are all younger. They are all stronger. I mean, I was crying so much in the aerial lessons. I'm so sorry for my teacher. How the hell am I going to do this? When I was 18, I did not know what to do with life. And I think it's very normal because when you're 18, what do you know about life? What do you know about yourself? So I decided to go to South America and I went to Paraguay. Why Paraguay? Why not? I did not know anything and my plan was to travel. So I arrived in Paraguay. I was doing couch surfing and like the first weeks were nice, but I was starting to feel very lonely. I needed to meet people and I met some girls who were playing music in the bus and I just thought they look so happy. I want to meet them. And I said, hey, I want to meet you. I want to know where you live. So we met. They took me to the house where they were staying. And that's how I met circus people. And they were doing circus in the streets. So I don't know how. I think maybe people in Paraguay are just much kinder than people in Germany, much more welcoming, because they just invited me to their house and said, okay, you can stay. I was sleeping on the terrace in a hammock with the mosquitoes biting me everywhere. Everyone was training, doing arts. It was an interesting world, very colorful. I also got my first silks lesson in this moment. And this was so frustrating because I could barely climb the silks. I always thought of myself as a strong person because as a kid I was always climbing the trees. But then when climbing the silks, I noticed that I was not strong at all. So this was frustrating me so much that I was not as strong as I had imagined. This was hurting my pride a lot. So I said, okay, I need to train. And this is how I started training silks. And very soon I was one of the only 5 people who were doing silks in the whole country. And I also started to do some street arts, to some very bad poi swinging in the streets. And I was getting some money from that. I stayed in Paraguay 1 year. Super crazy. I wanted to stay in South America only 7 months and then go back. I just let the flight pass and I stayed there for 1 year. And then I went to Brazil. And then I went to Argentina because my friends from Paraguay had auditioned to a circus school in Argentina and they got in. So I said, okay, cool. My friends are in Argentina. I will go join them. So I went to Argentina and I auditioned to the circus school. I don't know how, but they let me go in. So thank you so much. This has changed my life. And then I trained 1 year at the circus school and it was really a very happy time. We were so motivated, training so much, learning so much. I always would train silks after the regular lessons. I would try to get additional ballet classes or whatever classes of physical things I could find outside of the school times. And then after 1 year, I said, okay, but all this people which are doing this circus school in Argentina want to go in France because apparently there are some circus schools in France which must be amazing, which somehow I missed that they exist. So I went back to Europe. I went directly to France to train, to prepare for the auditions. And I applied to many circus schools. I got invited to audition in 4 circus schools and I got into 2 circus schools. One was a circus school in Spain and one was in France. So I decided to go to the French circus school to study there. And this was different because I had changed from silks to rope. The rope has always attracted me. It had this very beautiful minimalistic look where it would just be the body and the rope. So I was thinking that this is really, really beautiful and really challenging as well. And I wanted to do this, even if people advised me against it because they said, hey, for doing rope, you need to be really physically fit. So maybe do something easier. But I did rope in France and I'm very happy I chose the rope. I mean, I was crying so much in the aerial lessons. I'm so sorry for my teacher because in retrospective, I think it's very embarrassing. But the ropes we had were also very painful. It was not the covered ropes. It was really hard ropes. generations of circus artists in France who had so much pain on their hands and their whole bodies and so many bruises. But well, it prepared me for the chain, I think. In the circus school in France, I also started doubting if I could make it as an artist, because I was noticing that the level was higher. The people were so much younger who were training with me. And then you had like these superior circus schools where there would be an age limit to apply. And very often I was very close to this age limit. So I was thinking, oh shit, then what happens if I don't get into the next circus school? Then I will never become an artist. And I think if I would have started this in France or in Germany, I would have never done this. I would have never dared to do it. But since I started it in South America, and I kind of already had worked with it. I mean, I was working in the streets, or I was working in some gigs in Paraguay with the silks. So I already knew that I could do it. And when I came to Europe, it was really a bit a shock to see, okay, the level is high. There are many people who are doing it. They are all younger. They are all stronger. How the hell am I going to do this? But I finished the 2 years of circus school in France, and I did not get into a superior circus school. I was having many issues with my shoulder in this moment. Thankfully, after I rehabbed my shoulder, I was having like some tendinitis, which happened because there was some muscular imbalance. So after France, I went to Spain, because in Spain there was no superior circus school, but I knew that there were many people training rope, and there was an amazing training space which was called La Central del Cirque in Barcelona. And I went to train there and got some lessons in rope. First, we were like doing group lessons. After, we were doing private lessons. I'm so thankful for the coach who was coaching me in this time, because otherwise I don't know if I would have made it to become an artist. At one moment I made an act, and I sent the video to many places. I sent very bad emails at this time, but one place answered me, and I started to work in a small circus in Austria. So it was just a family and me, and we were driving around with the caravans and going from one city, or rather one village, to another one, and doing a circus show. And I was really also helping with everything. So putting up the tent, putting down the tent. So really started understanding how it is to be a traditional circus. I did not understand it before, because street circus is so different from traditional circus. Also, the contemporary circus schools in France have a very, very different style from traditional circus. But I'm very happy that I got through all of these different sides of circus, that I could see everything, to have a bigger understanding of how the circus world is and how different the circus world is. I was doing traditional circus for a while, and also some other works in an attraction park, for example, or in hotels. And little by little, I got better on the rope. I got more recognized. People started knowing my rope act, and I started to work in some bigger circus shows with the rope. But I also could see the limitations of it, because at this moment many people were already doing aerial work. It was nothing special to do rope. And then I was thinking, actually my favorite act was never on the rope. It was always a vertical chain act, which was something which you could barely see in the world at this moment. It had a few people had done it before, but at this moment it was not something popular, because, well, the chain is worse than the unicycle ropes. It's even more painful. But there was this one chain act which just was my all-time favorite circus act, and I took lots of inspiration from it. And it's also inspired me to start chain. So at first I was thinking, okay, now I will just take all the things which I know on my rope, and I just do the same things I do on the rope on the chain. This is not possible, because the chain weighs 20 kilos. The metal, it's just much stronger than the skin. So if you would do exactly the same thing like on the rope, you could injure you very bad. And this is why I started to find out, okay, on the chain, maybe you cannot do this kind of trick, but you can do another kind of trick. So I needed to find out what's possible on the vertical chain and what's not possible on the vertical chain. Also finding out what story you can tell with the chain, because the chain is very fascinating as an element. Everyone knows a chain. It's used everywhere. It's so symbolic and it's so simple and beautiful. And there was something else which has always fascinated me, which was dental hang, like people hanging from their teeth. And then I found someone who made me the mouthpiece to do a dental hang, and I started practicing dental hang and put it into the chain act. I think now little by little I start to have the kind of act which I want to have, and have found a way to create something which is very different from all aerial acts. I'm so excited also what is going to happen with the circus shows now that the technical possibilities are so crazy, and I'm really curious what will happen with aerial acrobatics too. Let's see.